Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning. I hope all is well with y'all today, and I appreciate y'all for watching this. So today, what I'm going to show you is how to take this design you see right here in front of me um, from Figma over to Webflow. We're going to be doing no animations. So I'm just going to be showing you the structure of how to lay things out, how to build certain elements in Webflow using relative, absolute positioning, and yeah, just we're going to be using a lot of CSS grid in this build. So this can be perfect for those who are new to Webflow or who are intermediate in Webflow and want to figure out a couple of different ways you can build elements inside of it and do some cool things, man. So let me zoom in real quick so we can take a look at what we're going to build. So this is it right here. This is based off of a real client brief. So I left the brief, the file, the fonts, all that stuff in the Notion file in the description below. So you guys can check those out. If you want to take your own route and you don't want to design follow along with our designs, you want to build your own design and build it in Webflow. That's cool too, using the creative brief. So it's all okay with me. It's honestly intended to be that way, so, if you want to practice putting a real creative brief to use, um, then you can do that and see if you can meet those goals. If not, feel free to follow along, man. And so this is what we're gonna be building. So this vector and this vector are gonna be SVGs. This though we're gonna build inside of Webflow, all these different things, and this right here too, we're gonna build inside Webflow. Um, but yeah, other than that, let's just get started, man. My name is Dexter, by the way, for those of you who don't know me. I run a web and brand studio called Crafted Studios. We're a Webflow expert partner agency as well. And yeah, man, I'm pretty hyped to get started. So let me close this out and let's get going. So I have my read only link open just because I really want to be smooth, man. Let me close this out. I really want to be smooth. It's my first time recording anything, so I want to be on point. But let me go ahead and actually delete all this and we can get going. Now let me get rid of the namings as well. So that way you can see me build the entire thing. Cool. All right. Cleaned up the style manager. I think we're good to go. Just make sure you guys have all your assets loaded up. And you can grab those from the Figma file. Make sure you guys have the font loaded up as well. Like I said, that's in the Notion file below. It's Roboto and Craftwork Grotesque. If you guys want to check out what that looks like. So this is the Craftwork Grotesque and this is Roboto. Light on the Roboto, and we went bold on the Craftwork Grotesque. Semi bold for the rest of it though. All right, so this is our color palette. So feel free to enter these inside of Webflow. For those of you who don't know how to do that, it's just simply going over to, let me go click on the element. It's simply going here, and then you can actually add swatches just by clicking on the plus sign. So that's how you would do that. But other than that, though, guys, let's get going. So the first thing we're gonna build is the nav bar, and for those of you who are just starting in Webflow, you might notice that the nav bar is pretty good. It's actually a pretty usable element that we have here that's already built in Webflow. But the thing is, that container is really difficult to play around with. It's kind of contained to one particular width. So we're actually going to get rid of that. And let me show you how to do that. So we're going to throw in our own our nav bar. And like I said, we're going to be building this out on our own. So we give it a class of nav bar. And then we're going to take out this and we're going to actually do transparent. So it's the same as the body color. We're not going to be doing any type of stickiness or anything like that at the moment. So we're not worried about, the colors and stuff, maybe later on, but right now I'm not worried about it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to then give this a little bit of padding. So I want to do 25 at the top, 20 at the bottom. Did I accidentally do something? Oh, I don't know why I accidentally switched over the breakpoint. You mean to do that? Let's start that up. I don't know how I did that. My keyboard must have did that. My apologies, guys. So let's do that one more time. Go to the nav bar, transparent, and like I said, we're gonna do a little bit of padding on the top and bottom. There we go. Cool. Then we're gonna style our nav links. We're gonna call these nav link. Cool. And then we're gonna go ahead and check all this out real quick. Let's see how this looks. So right here we have Roboto, and this is by pixel. So instead, I'm gonna do EMs. I just kind of eyeball it, to be really honest with you guys. I like EMs. I'm a little bit more used to it. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, actually I want to switch this out to Craftwork Grotesque as well. So let's go ahead and do that. I think this feels a little bit better. Do it on this one. Cool. And I want to give that a little bit of spacing, maybe 1.5. Switch it over to bold. Yeah. Cool. And now we can go ahead and give the rest of that class. I'm actually going to turn that down a little bit. Let's do 0.8 maybe. That looks pretty cool. I like that. Right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take everything out of the container, because remember, we want to actually get rid of this container so we can put it in our own. So let's get rid of it. And let's grab a div. Before we do that, make sure I'm clicked on the nav bar. Let's grab a div and throw a div in there. Let's give it a class of menu. The only thing we're going to do with this one, guys, is just put a little bit of padding on it. So we're going to do 60 on both sides. And let's go ahead and throw that inside the nav bar and drag everything else in there. Cool, and now we have our own. The purpose of that is just that. It's not really supposed to do anything else. So I wouldn't worry about it matching the width or not. It doesn't matter, or the height. It really, for now, the only purpose is to give it a little bit of padding. The nav bar is doing most of the heavy lifting for us. We just want to make sure that that container is a little bit moldable. So the next step is to throw the logo in there. So let's grab our image. Cool. And sorry about that, guys. You're gonna see that a little bit. For some reason, AT&T, they've been struggling. I don't know what it is these last couple days, but my internet has been tripping. So sorry about that, guys. Hopefully this doesn't cut out on us. That's all I'm hoping for. So let's give that a class of logo. I give the other one a class of brand and give it a 12EW just because I want it to be scalable when we do it in mobile and different breakpoints. Yeah, just want to make sure it's scalable. That's it. So I see that this doesn't really look as even as this. So what I'm gonna want to do is just push the brand down a little bit, maybe even like at 10. There we go, just to make it feel more even to the eye. Then lastly, I'm gonna enter in our button. As you can see, we have a button here as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the nav menu and click on the nav menu, throw in our button, and we're gonna style this. Let's give it a class of nav button. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna push it down a little bit, maybe 5 pixels. That might be okay. Maybe even a little more, maybe like 10. Let's see how 8 looks. Yeah, that might be okay. You know what? Maybe let's try 10. Yeah. We'll see how this looks after we style it. So right now, let me go ahead and add a little bit more padding. I like bigger buttons in my opinion. Whoops. It just stands out a little bit more. So I'm just gonna do 12 at the top and 20 on the sides. And that'll do for me. And what I'm gonna do is I'm also gonna do the same style as the nav links. So let's do that. Bold, letter spacing of 1.5. And we're gonna do all caps. And then I'm gonna come in here and check this, and that's 0.8. So let's also do 0.8 EMs. And then let's see. Yeah, so this action can be pushed up a little bit. So let's actually give it maybe a 5. There we go. Cool. And then the next step, I want to give it a black color, our charcoal, and get started. Let's enter that. Cool. And then I want to give it a little bit of corner rounding. So we're going to go here, wherever it's at. Oh, here. I'm going to give it 5. Just a little bit of corner rounding. Cool. And that's it. That is our, yeah, that's our nav bar. We're looking pretty smooth so far. So let's keep going. So the next step is to throw in a section. And actually, before I build out the rest of the site, I just want to make sure I have the structures of everything set up. So I'm going to do is do hero-section for this. You can name it whatever you want, though. I'm going to give it 100 at the top and 100 at the bottom. And then I'm going to give it 60 on both sides. Cool. Let's see. Cool. So that's the hero section. Let me throw in a container. Maybe we build our own containers. Let me give this a class name of container. You can name it whatever you want. Container might be the most convenient for you as well. Give it a max width of 1200. Boom. And that's our container. Nothing special. That's it for right now. We don't need to flex it out yet. I think we're okay for now. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to copy and paste this section. And on the second section, so on the second section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this and just name it section. And what I'm going to do with section is I'm going to put padding of 100 on both sides. This is just because I want the hero to go a little bit more end to end than the rest of it. So you see how this is more end to end, like we have a little bit more padding on these sides. I'm basically going off of this right here. This has 60 padding, and the rest of it is more closer to 100. So, I figured I might as well. I just want to kind of give the rest of this tighter padding compared to the hero. All right, so that's that. Let me go ahead and actually, how many sections do we have? We have hero. This section is this section. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we actually have 7 sections, but I'm only going to do 6 until we get to the footer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. And there we go. Our structure is laid out. Let's go ahead and keep building. So what we're going to do next is we're going to then do our hero section. So let's grab our grid. And you notice that the image is a lot more, it favors the grid a lot more than the text does, right? The text looks a little bit squashed over to the left. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to build a grid that's the same exact way. So by doing that, we're going to remove a row, and we're going to call this hero grid. Feel free to name it whatever you want, though. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak this over. Actually, know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to give this 0.75 FR on the left side of it, and we're going to leave the 1 FR on the right, right? Cool. So, yeah, cool. The next one I'm going to do is I'm going to want to throw in a text wrapper. I always like to throw text wrappers and wrappers around everything just in case I need to kind of play with anything. I can do just that. So let's do text wrapper. And sorry if I'm typing a little slow, guys. My mic is in the way, so I really can't type with my right hand right now. So let's duplicate this class and let's call it an image wrapper. Cool. And what we're going to do with the image wrapper is just give it a height of 500. And the reason why is because I want this to be around 500. 600 is a little exaggerated just for the design, but 500 is actually what I want. So that's what we're going to do. 500. And then for the text wrapper, I'm going to put a little bit of padding of 80 at the top. I know I can do a line, but I'm actually going to play around with that a little bit later on. For now, though, we're just going to do an 80 pixels of padding. Okay, cool. So now let's go ahead and add our text. So let's throw in a heading. And then let's throw in our text block. And then lastly, let's throw in our button. So with the button, we're actually going to give it a class name of navigation button. Remember our nav button? But actually, you know what? We need to give this a padding. My apologies. Let me give that a little bit of padding. Okay. But you see how I did it here as well. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to duplicate this. I'm just going to call it started button. Actually, let's call it CTA button. I'll call it CTA button. I'm going to get rid of this. And there we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do get started. And to save some time for us later on, let's create a symbol out of it. As you can see, I have a few symbols from other times I was building this out. So there we go. So now we don't have to worry about always adding get started and everything like that to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a div block, and I want to actually wrap that because we're going to use this button a few times. So since we're going to use it a few times, I don't want to style. I don't want to give it a padding, just because not all points might have the same padding. I know for this one at the bottom, the padding is a little bit tighter than the rest of them. And this one is as well. This one's a little bit closer than the rest of them. So I just kind of want to, you know, I want to create my own spacing, and I'll show you a little bit later. So for now, let's do it this way. Let's actually call this let's call this CTA wrap, a CTA wrapper. I'm actually gonna give this a padding at a margin at the top of 30, and let's throw our CTA button right inside the CTA wrapper. Cool. So now that has a little bit of breathing room. Let me give this a class of hero-subtext, and let me actually space this out a little bit. Cool. So let's style the rest of this. So this is 45 pixels. Like I said, I like to work in EMs. So I'm going to kind of, let's see, what does 45px look like? I'm going to try to get a little bit closer to that. Try something like that, right? 3.1 maybe even, something like that. And then of course, let me give it the black. Let's grab our text. Cool. And let's give this 1.2 EMs of spacing. See how this looks. Cool. Yeah, that works. And actually, let me name this as well. Let's do H1. So all H1s have that style. So let's go ahead and style this. Roboto. Light. And this is around, what is this? So this 23, which is a little bit too large for me right now anyway. So I'm gonna try to get it closer to 18. So let's do maybe 1.2 EM. Looks like we're gonna be around 4.4, which is totally fine. Hold on, I gotta pause this 1 second, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had to take a quick phone call, but we are back. Let me go ahead and yeah. So actually, I like 1.3 AMs for that one, and let's go ahead and grab our text. Cool, and let's do 1.2. 1.3 actually feels a little better. Let's do even 1.5. Let's try that. Cool. I want the line to break right here. All right, that looks good. So let's go ahead and add our image now. So let's go ahead and grab an image. I'm gonna throw that in there, and we're just gonna go and grab our hero card, and that's it. That is it. We're looking pretty smooth so far. I actually want to make this a little bit bigger, so we can get, yep, 3 lines of text. That looks smooth. Let me see, turn this down just one. Yep. So there we go. That looks perfect. Perfect. 80 pixels. Do I still want to do this 80 pixels? Yeah, we'll do 80 pixels. That's totally. You know what though? Because when you first open the site, I want the text to be a little bit more prominent. So let's go ahead and remove this. See what this looks like. There we go. Cool. I know for bigger laptops, bigger computers, that would have been fine, but for mine, it's a little bit tight right now. So we'll just keep it at that. Awesome. So we're done with that. Let's move on to the next one. So what do we have with the next one? So next, we're just going to be adding our name drop, because companies love the name drop. So we're going to be adding that right now. And with that, it looks like we have a lot of space in between here. And this is what I mean by spacing. So let me show you guys. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to add our heading, right? And this time, we're actually not going to, we're going to do H1, but we're actually going to switch it up a little bit and do something called center. And the reason why is because this one, it's a little different, right? So this is semi-bold compared to this, which is bold, and this is a little bit smaller compared to this one, a few pixels smaller. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So maybe I'm going to do like, um, I can do like 2.9 em, even maybe even 8, something like that. Let's do semi-bold, and then we can center it. So now we have an obvious difference between the two. Okay. So that's, and then we can reuse this for the rest of all of the rest of the classes, like you see here, the rest of the sections. So that's what we're doing. So let's go ahead and grab our text. Oops, wrong one. Cool. And I actually just want to split this line. I don't know. For me, I don't always like that one line of text. I think that looks a little weird sometimes. That's just me, though. So the next step is to create a little bit of spacing. And to keep things consistent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my own spacer. And I'm going to give this a width of 100%, just so it takes up 100% of the container. And I'm going to give this a height of, let's give it a height of 90 px. And what this is just essentially a spacer that acts like you would to do margins. So you see how this one has margins both at the top and the bottom. And actually, let me go ahead and remove those, since we actually created our own here anyway with this one. So that way we don't have to, play around with different paddings and stuff and create combo class and duplicate classes. We can just always adjust this as we need, and we can create combo classes with the spacers, and we can play around with the heights like that. I'd rather do it that way. So that's what we're going to do. And let's add our grid now. And in this case, it's a 4-column grid. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and remove one of these rows and add 2 more columns. Cool. So with this, all we're going to do for now is we're just going to add our, let's call it 4-call grid first of all. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add a wrapper around it, and we're going to call this logo wrap. Cool. Logo wrapper. And let's throw in one of our images. Let's grab a logo. Let's do the PayPal one. Then we got Webflow, Google, and then Adobe. So what I'm going to do then is just copy and paste. Control V, Control C, Control V. Webflow, Google. Oh, come on, guys. Are you serious right now? How many notifications you guys want to send me? Duh. Ridiculous. I get it. Come on, leave us alone, man. We're trying to record here. Damn. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to push all this to the left. I want to push these two to the right, and then I want to make sure that these two are locked into the left. And that one seems fine too, but let me just do that anyway. Cool. So we got our name drops. Pretty smooth. Let me close this again. Pretty smooth. So that is that, actually. We're done with that section. Let's keep it moving. So let me close everything, and let's move on to the next section. So with this one, it looks like we are going to get into the 2-column territory. And this is cool because we're actually going to duplicate these columns. And let me show you how this is going to work. So first of all, let's throw down our heading. And of course, you guys already know, since we created that class, we don't have to worry about that no more. Let's grab our text. Maybe like this. Something like that. Or maybe even, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Maybe even it breaks right here, maybe. Yeah, something like that. Cool. So now we're going to create another spacer. And then we're going to throw our 2-column grid underneath that. So let's go ahead and remove one of these rows. And let's call this 2-call grid. You can call it whatever you want, though. And what we're going to do with this, it looks like it's going to be almost the same as our hero section. So we're actually just going to give that the same exact thing. Cool. Right. So next we're just gonna throw in our text wrapper. You guys already know the drill. This is where stuff is gonna kind of start to get a little bit repetitive, and that's totally cool because that's what we want. Repetitive stuff, stuff that we can rebuild, stuff that we can reuse, and that's that, right? So we have our image wrapper. Let's throw in our image. Let's grab our vector, and there we go. So let's do the same thing here. And with this, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to throw in our heading. Let's throw in our heading. And this is going to be an H2 this time, and we're actually going to class this as H2. And for this, we're actually going to, let's see, let's check it. It's 36. So let me throw the pixels to 36. And let me see if I can get close to that in EMs. So let's try 2. No. Try 2.3. Almost. It's like 2.5. We'll do 2.6 EMs for this one. What is this? Yeah, let's do 2.5. There we go. Cool. So let's style this. Nice. Let's grab our text. Cool. Let me give it a 1.2 EMs height-wise. There we go. I mean, I could even do a medium, but it's okay. I'll just leave it like that. Right? So let's go ahead and throw in our paragraph. So this time we're going to be working with the paragraph. Let's give it a class of P1. And let's dial this up. We got Roboto, light, and what is it? It's 19. So let me type in 19. I think this is a little bit big even for this. So I'm going to try to get closer to 17. So let's try 1.2 EM. Perfect. And let's give this 1.4 EM so we can have a little bit of spacing. Cool. Cool. And with our P1, we're just going to go ahead and create a spacer. So let's get rid of the spacing at the bottom. Right? So we're going to actually create a small spacer. So let's grab our div block just in case we need to reuse that. And we'll do spacer. And we're going to do maybe 5 VH. Let's try that. And let's throw that right in between there. That's a little bit too large. I like that class though. We might end up using that, but let's try 3 VH. I think that's gonna do it. Yep. That does it for me. Let's go ahead and get rid of these classes. Get rid of this padding. And there we go. Cool. Cool. Let me see what I want to do now. I actually think I want to push this away from each other real quick. So with that, I'm gonna add a little bit of a gap. Let's go ahead and try 80. See what that feels like. I like that. That's smooth. So that's what we'll do there. And remember we created a wrapper for the button? Well, I'm going to do the same thing here. So what I'm actually going to do is cheat a little bit by copy and pasting. Because why not? We can do that on Webflow, right? So might as well. So there we go. And actually, now that I look at it, let's actually do this. 20. So it's a little bit closer together. I like the way that feels. And yeah, that's what we got. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually space this to the center. Push that to the center, and there we go. So that is that section. And what we're going to do for the next grid, by the way, I got the spacing in between it from it being 100. I think maybe 100 might be a little too much right now. But for now, I put 80. Let's try 100 and see what that looks like. That's not bad either. It doesn't make that much of a difference, so that could be okay. Yeah, that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually duplicate 2 things. We're going to duplicate the spacer. Oh, wait, hold on. I lost where I'm at. Cool. We're going to duplicate the spacer. and we're going to duplicate the grid. So let's go ahead and duplicate the spacer first. We're going to throw the spacer underneath the grid, and we're going to duplicate the grid and throw that underneath the spacer. So now we have two grids. And what we're going to do with the second grid is give it a combo class of reverse. Because what we're going to do is we're actually going to flip this on its head. So we're going to put the text on this side and put the image on this side. So essentially what that's going to be is a larger image here and a smaller text here. So let's actually give this 1. Let's give this 0.75. So we just flipped it around. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, make it manual, and I'm going to just move this to this side. And the image is going to get pushed to that side. And there we have an image that's larger than the text on the left to the right. Pretty simple, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of our image, and then our image wrapper. This time, we're not going to be reusing this. I actually want to call this something else just for responsiveness. The reason why is because I do want to use this next wrapper here and here. And since we're building this, since these are not images in Webflow, I'm going to need the height to lock in at 500. Compared to these, I don't need the height to lock in at 500 on mobile. I can just kind of leave them just how they are and remove that and let the auto do its thing. Or I can switch it over to maybe, 200, 100, whatever it is. I could just remove that height. I don't need that in mobile, but I do need it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually duplicate our image wrapper, and we're going to call this what should we call it? Let's call it team wrapper. No, it's not really a team. Call it yeah, I mean, there's nothing else I can think of right now. So let's just call it team wrapper. We're gonna call it team wrapper. And with team wrapper, we're still locked in at height of 500, which is cool. That's fine. This is only gonna matter when it comes to doing it mobilely responsive. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is add our div, and we're gonna add a div, and we're gonna give it a class name of team block. And with our team block, we're going to want to give it a height of 100%, so it takes in all the space of our parent div. And with this, we're actually going to make it relative. So we're going to make it relative. And with this, we're going to then color this. So you see how this is black in the background? It's our charcoal, so we're going to do the same. Give it a charcoal background. Let's add our image. We're actually going to do contain for her, just because I want it to, just because I want her whole body to fit in and not just like her face. So let's go ahead and choose the image for that. Nice. So that's what we got so far. So the next step with the team block, we're actually going to add in another block. And the reason why is because we have this to work with. So let's check this out. So it looks like we have padding of pretty much 30 on all sides when you include this. Yeah, so around 30 on all sides is what I'll estimate it at. So let's go ahead and add a block. I'm actually going to call this, let's call this team text wrap, maybe. Something like that. Yeah, we'll work with that, man. I think that feels okay. So with this, we're going to do this absolute. I'm actually going to push this down to the bottom left. Okay, so let's give this even spacing of 30 all around. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just remove the padding at the top from 30. I'm going to take it down to 16 or maybe even 15. Reason why, you'll see in just a second. So let's add in our heading. I'm going to give this an H3. Oh, whoops. Let's add in our heading. And we're actually just going to give this an H3. Let's call it H3. And with our H3, what we're going to do, before I do that actually though, let me give this a little bit of color. Cool. And with our H3, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'll give this around 24. So I want this just to be a little smaller than this. So maybe I'll do 2.1 EMs here. That might feel okay. Maybe even a little smaller at like 2. do 1.8. Let's see how that feels in just a second. So I'm going to give this a semi-bold. Yep. Then I'm going to do our same body color. So let's go ahead and grab our name. Cool. And let's actually throw in the second, which is the role, head of customer success. Let's go ahead and add a text block. We're going to do team role. I don't know what else to call it because I'm going to have to use this again, and she's not a team member. I just don't know what else to call it right now, to be honest. So let's go ahead and grab our text. And I know you guys noticed that it's off a little bit. So what we're going to do is just going to give this an opacity of 80. Kind of offset that a bit. And let's grab our Roboto. And let's throw it at light. Cool. That's that. So with our heading 3, with our H3, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, do I want to remove that? No. No, that's fine. I'll leave that. Let me just get rid of the top. And let's actually throw that back in there. Cool. You know what? No, because what if I want to reuse that? Let's actually just leave that. Leave that margin at the top. Cool. So lastly, we have our vector to add. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to add another div. And we're actually going to call this vector block, because we're going to also be able to reuse this later on. So we're just going to call this vector block, and we're going to absolute position this. And this is to the top left. So with this, I'm going to estimate around, I don't know, 18, negative 18 at the top, and maybe negative 10 at the left. And let me throw in an image so you guys can see what this is going to look like. So it's something like that, right? It's a little bit off to the left. So let's see how this looks. Nice. I actually think that's perfect. Cool. And that's that. That's how we build that in Webflow. Pretty simple, pretty smooth. What do you guys think, man? I like it. So let's go ahead and finish up the rest of this. We don't have a button here, so we don't need to worry about that. As far as our text wrapper, it's placed in the center, right where we want it. And yeah, we're looking good so far. Let me grab our text. I have to pause it here in just a second to go grab groceries. Girlfriend's gonna go grab groceries, so I gotta go do that. Help her out real quick. I might need to do that in a bit, guys. But we're cool for now. Nice. So that's what we got there. So our next step is to do our 3-column grid, which is pretty smooth. It's honestly not that difficult at all. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna build our 3-column grid. So before we do that, let's add in our heading. You guys already know how to do that, right? So let's add our heading. Give it a class at H1, center. Where's our, why am I creating a class here? H1. Yeah, what was that about, guys? Wait, what did I do? But I don't know why it didn't pop up the first time, but it worked. So, okay. Maybe I did something wrong there. But it worked. We're all good. For show. There we go. All right, cool. So let's keep it moving. And with this, we're going to create another spacer, you guys know. So let's add our spacer in there. Right? And the reason why I'm always doing 90 as well, because it's kind of close to this. This is 80, but I want to do 90 here just because that translates a little bit better in Webflow. So our next step is to then create the grid. So let's add a grid. And let's call it 3-call grid. And let's go ahead and give our grids some columns. So let's give it one more. And we're actually going to space this out. Let's see what this is at. 165. But I think here we can probably get away with 80 and it would look good. Let's see. No. Let's try maybe 150. That might work out just fine. Cool. So I'm gonna name this wrapper. So I'm gonna give it a div and name this benefit wrapper. Cool. And then I'm just gonna copy and paste. Control C, Control V. Oh, duh, we can't see it. So let me see. Let me give this a color real quick so we can see what we're working with. Oh, it needs a height. It needs a height. Let's just give it like 10 VH just for the sake of it. I just need to see what it looks like. Okay, that's okay. Fine. Maybe I'll even space it a little bit more, but we can worry about adjusting that a little later. So for now, let's go ahead and build this out. So we have an image. Let's throw in our icon. Cool. And then what I want to do is I want to I want to create a spacer. So remember that spacer we made earlier, that's 5BH? Well, I'm going to use that here because I think that's going to work perfectly. So good thing we built that out. So let's add our H3. Know how this one was white? I'm actually just going to create a combo class of black. And then I'm just going to do that charcoal color we got. And there we go. Lastly, I'm going to create another paragraph. And this is going to be called P2. And let's see what this is. This is 19. So yeah, around the same thing. I want to do around 17 or so. 1 second, guys. All right, guys, I'm back, and where were we? Oh yeah, we were styling our P2. So let's continue to do that. So we're gonna give it our light because of course it's light like the rest of the stuff in here. And yeah, I'm gonna aim for around something like 17. So let's try like 1.2 EMs. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. So let's give it a height of 1.4 EM, and let's throw in our text. Oops. Cool. And that's pretty much it, guys. Let me go ahead and get rid of this. Let me get rid of this 1 second. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to simply let's see. Is that okay padding wise? That's fine. Okay. I would have did another spacer here, but I won't bother with it. So actually we can just copy and paste 3 times. And there we go. Let me get rid of these two. There we go. Move this out the way, man. It's so annoying. Right. Let me get rid of this. Alright, so let's add in the rest of our text. It's pretty simple. Grab that real quick. Change out the icon. Let's grab which one is it? The card. And let's grab the location. Right. Cool. I kind of want this to stretch all the way out though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down just a bit. Maybe we'll do try 40. No, let's try 30 maybe. I really just want to get rid of that. There we go. I really just want to get rid of that kind of bundled up look that it had. I didn't really like the feeling of that. So that's fine right there. So 120 is what I settled on. Whatever you guys want to do though is totally cool. That's what I settled on though. Cool. So let me finish this up. Also can make the H3s a little smaller just to accommodate that. So let's actually just try that out. Let's do something a little smaller. Let's see how much See how wider we can go. Maybe even a little bit more like this. Okay, we can do a little more then. Let's play around with it. That might be it right there though. Cool. So actually we were able to do it. Nice. Okay. So that's pretty much it. So we're done with that section. So let's keep building and we're going to actually do our next section, which is going to be a lot similar to what we built here, but it's going to be flipped around using combo classes. So let's do that. So yeah, let's create. And for this one, are not going to do another header. In this case, we're just going to add our grid. So let's go ahead and add our grid. And we already built this one out. It's the to call grid. It's the same grid as we used up here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add our text wrapper. And then we're going to add our image wrapper. Here, the street sweeper. Hopefully they can get me. Oh, actually, this is an image wrapper. It's a team wrapper. How about that? Let me just double check. Yep, cool. All right, now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another one. You guys already know. We're going to call this team block, and this should bring up, yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a combo class of yellow. And then we get rid of the image that we have here and also the color. So let's do the color first. Cool. And in this case, we're going to add this girl here. And she's her image is a little bit cut off here, so we're going to just contain that, anchor that to the bottom there. Okay. So for our text, what I'm going to do actually is just grab this because we already built it out. So why keep reinventing the wheel here, right? So let's paste this. But what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these two elements here. I'm going to leave the spacer, but we're going to create a new text, and that's going to be the text that's a little larger for our testimonial. So let's throw in a paragraph, and we're actually going to call this P4. And let's do P4 Roboto, or what should we do? Let's actually do Roboto first, and then we can try the other one. So I want this to be a little larger, so let's try maybe 2 EM, too large, 1.8, maybe 1.7, something like that. We'll play around with it in a bit, but I want this to be spaced out 1.3 EMs. So let's grab her testimonial. Cool. So far, so good. Let's center this in the middle. I want this just to be a little larger. All right, something like that. And let's see what this looks like when it's our Craftwork text. It's okay, but just to keep that consistency, let's just stick with this. And what I want to do, if you guys notice what I did here, what I ended up doing was just, I see I accidentally changed the button there. Don't mind that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of like give the quotations a little bit of a different look. So I'm going to do the same here just by wrapping it in a span. And we're going to call this quote. And let's see, what should we do? I think I think something like, you know what, let's just stick to this. Keep it simple. Let's do black, and let's give this the blue. It just kind of makes it pop a little bit. Cool. And that's it. I'm going to give this one to this side as well. And I want to create a little bit of space here. That's it. Of course, this would be really cool as a slider as well. But I'm not building that right now. Maybe we can build on top of that a little bit later on. But right now, I'm not really worried about this. I think this looks just fine. Just for one quick testimonial, you look. I mean, sometimes that's all you got, right? Sometimes all you have is one testimonial. One good one at least. So it is what it is when it comes to startups. But that's what we're going to be working with, and let's add the rest of our elements. So um, I know it's going to be a lot of a few combo classes. So let's add our team text wrapper. All right, and we're going to give this a class of yellow combo class. Let's change this over to yellow, and we actually don't have to do anything else there. And let's add our H3s. Combo class of black. Cool. Oh, I noticed that the combo class is smaller. So let's revert that. I think that's because we did this one. Let's see. Yep. Hmm. That's fine then. We will continue to do we will continue to do that then. What we'll do then is we will just kind of go back to spacing this at maybe 30. Yep, that's what I have to do. Sorry about that, guys. I really just wanted to. There we go. That's fine anyway. So back here, let's go ahead and add our role text. I did something wrong in this step compared to this one that I built. It's actually the same size all the way around, but I must have did something wrong there, but it's okay. So let's actually give this a combo class of black, and let's just change this over to black. And I'm actually going to do this at maybe 9, so it's not so dark. That's it. Let's go ahead and grab our text. Boom. So lastly, what I want to do is I want to, you know what? Yeah, let's give this some padding at the top. Cool. So lastly, what I want to do is I want to add that text block. I mean, I want to add that vector block. So remember how we did that? It's the same thing here. So we don't have to actually create any combo classes for that. This is a different image inside of it. So let's just go ahead and throw one in there. And let's add our black one. And that's it. That's pretty much it. So we got stumbled on. We stumbled around a little bit on the combo classes, but it's okay. That happens sometimes. Um, I did something a little bit different compared to what I did here. Here I have a more efficient class system. I think what I did wrong was I actually used the same H3s all the way around. So that's what it was. And this one was actually supposed to be a combo class of white. That's why. So this is supposed to be a combo class of white compared to the rest of them. So I just did it backwards. So my apologies, guys. I just actually did the classing back, did the naming backwards on this one, but it's okay. So let me do the same here and go ahead and knock out this 10 of padding. And let's give our team role a little bit of padding, maybe like 5 at the top. And we'll do the same with our P2 since our P2 isn't really anywhere else. Let's do 10. Nice. Hey, that's how it is in Webflow sometimes, man. You gotta create on the fly, you know? Actually, I like 10 instead, so we're gonna leave it at 10. Cool. Cool. So our last and final step is to just kind of throw in our CTA. And with our CTA, I want to do something a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to build this out like normal, but I'm just going to give this a combo class of is colored. Is color. And I'm going to push this in a tad. So let's do 40 on each side. And we're going to color this yellow. No, let's color this black. We're going to color this our charcoal. Right? And let's throw in our text. So we're going to do our H1. Same thing. Oop, cool. And whoops, before I went ahead and made any changes to that, what I want to do is I want to actually duplicate this, and I want to do H1 dash color. Okay, so now I can change the color on this. Let's try yellow. Let's do the white. That's fine. Make sure it didn't change anywhere else. Cool. Cool. And with this, I notice I'm still at 90. Let's take this one down. Let's do 60. That feels a little better. Cool. So, if you guys are anything like me, you guys do that a lot too. You guys just kind of play around with stuff as you see fit aesthetically. That's all I'm doing. So, let's go ahead and add a spacer. Right. So let's give this one our combo class is 60, and then underneath that spacer, we're just gonna add our button. Our wait a minute. What we can actually do is we can delete this and throw in our symbol button, our CTA. So let's throw that underneath the spacer. And what I want to do is I want to give this a combo class of yellow. Let's just do color. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually flex out our container now to be vertical center center. And that actually didn't change any structure along the way, since the rest of our elements are actually flexed inside of them and not the container itself, which is cool. So let's go back to our button and let's change the color. I'm liking yellow, and then let's do black text. Oh, since it's a symbol, it's going to change everything regardless of. Dang. So sorry about that, guys. What we'll do then is we will create a different button. We'll create a yellow CTA button. Cool, underneath the spacer. Nice. And let's go back to flex our container. I actually, if you guys were still doing it, that's fine. But I just wanted to do this again. Cool. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do CTA dash button dash color. Since it's a symbol, guys, what that's going to do is it's just going to pretty much it's going to impact all the rest of the buttons unless I detached it from the symbol and then created a combo class that way. But it's totally cool. I'm just going to do it this way just because, it's just a little bit simpler. So let's give it some spacing of 1.5, just like the other ones. And then we're going to do bold. And then let's go ahead and add our padding to this. So let's do 12 at the top, 12 at the bottom. Nice. Have our text. Get started. Actually, you might want to bold this out still. Like it. Yeah, something like that, maybe. That might work. And then let's give it a little bit of a border radius of 5. And yeah, that's it. That's it. So yeah, like I said, guys, the reason why that changes because it was actually a symbol. So when you detach it from the symbol, you can actually change things around, but you can't add combo classes and symbols. Not that I believe so. So I just kind of worked around that and ended up detaching it from the symbol and then recreating the entire button when I really didn't have to. I could have just then, just used the same class. But it's sometimes just quicker to just do what you know. So that's pretty much it. Um, I think I want to make this a little bit. What just happened? That was strange. You seen that? My computer just glitched. Cool. And then now let's add our last section, which is our footer. Our footer is going to be a little bit tricky just because we have 5 different columns. We're looking good so far, though. Before I leave, I want to round out this section, and I want to round it out just a bit, just to kind of match the aesthetic of everything else. So let's go ahead and add maybe like let's do 5 as well, just to keep everything consistent. Just want to round that out a little bit. Hmm. I like maybe 8. Yeah, that's nice. Cool. 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 All right. Do we like the padding? Yeah, we do for now. We'll just leave it. So let me close all this up. And let's add our last section, which is going to be our footer. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our container like always. Let me see. Is this the same as... Okay. So just like the top, just like the hero section, how we had it going more edge to edge, we're going to do the same thing here. So what we're going to end up doing is just doing the same type of padding. So let me do this way. 60, 100, 100. Cool. So let me add our container. All right. Nice. And then let's add our grid. This time it's going to be a 5-column grid, it looks like. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1. This is going to be an imaginary column pretty much. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's go ahead and do our 5-call grid. And then we're going to go ahead and do footer grid. That's what I'm going to name it. Footer grid and 100% width, just so it takes up the space of the container. And then let's go ahead and play around with it a bit. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to add our wrappers. In this case, the first one is going to be a footer text. You know what? Maybe this even can be footer. Let's do footer first. This is going to be a call. So footer first column. In case we need to play around with this a little bit, because this is going to be one of our thicker columns. So that's what we'll do there. And let's add the rest of our columns. I'm just going to call this footer dash call. I'm just going to copy and paste them right in there. So let's build out the structure of this. And it looks like it's going to be, this one is going to be one of the largest ones. And also the social settings one. So let's go ahead and do that then. I'm going to make all these ones in the middle, 0.75. Cool. And I think I'm going to make this a little larger and this one a little larger. Maybe that works. Maybe you got to play with it a little bit. We'll see how that goes. But for now, that's what I'm rolling with. And let's add all of our content. So let's add a link block. And the link block is going to be the same thing as the brand that we have above in our header. So I mean in our nav bar. So that's what we're going to do there. And let's go ahead and add our logo. Cool. Awesome. So let's go ahead and add our, this time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a text block. And I'm going to give this a class of, let's give it a class of footer dash text maybe. Try that. And I want to push this down quite a bit, maybe like 60 of padding. We'll see if that works. We'll check in a bit. I want to make this a little big, so I'm going to make it somewhat similar to our P4. So let's go ahead and just do 1.8 EMs here. And let's do 1.4 EM. Let's do 3. Let's see how that feels. Might even want to make it tighter. Go ahead and give it our styling. I'm gonna do normal here. Cool. I like how that feels. So that is that. Let's go ahead and skip this column, but let's go ahead and start building out the rest of our columns. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a div, and this is gonna be called footer title. Then I'm gonna add a text block in here. I'm gonna call this footer title text. So this is gonna be kind of lightweight. So we're looking at probably this shade, maybe even a little lighter, something like that. And let's add this block. Let's do a little lighter, like that. Oh, come on, guys. Hey, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. That is okay, actually. So we will continue with that. And let me go ahead and add this. But I do want to make this a little bit larger. So let me first style it up real quick. And let me go ahead and let's try let's just try 1.1 EM. That looks okay for now. If we need to do something else, we'll worry about that later. And I want to add a little line underneath this just to create a little bit of space. So let me do 8 pixels of padding underneath this footer title, not the text, but the footer title itself. Let me add a little line underneath it. Okay, I kind of like how that looks. So next what we're going to do is we're going to add our footer links. So I'm just going to call this footer link. And then I'm going to add a text to it. We could also do text links as well, but this is just the way I like to do it, to be honest. Where is our text block? Cool. Footer dash link dash text. Cool. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab the footer link, remove that line, and then I'm just actually going to color this based off the footer link itself. And then we're going to go ahead and give it our roboto. Yeah, normal's okay. Let's do 1 EM here. Cool, just to keep it that same size. Let's do 1 EM here as well. Let's do 1.2 maybe. Actually, it wouldn't really matter all that much because we only have one line of text. Let's go ahead and enter that anyway. Cool. And then when it comes to the footer link, I want to just create a little bit of space. So I'm gonna do, let's try 10 at the top, 10 at the bottom. Let's see how this works. Might even want to do that differently a little later, but let's go ahead and do that. And real quickly too, let's flex this, right? So vertical, and then yeah, to the left is what we're gonna do. Oh, actually, we're gonna do stretch to keep that line. And yeah, we're looking good so far. We're almost done here. So let me see. Maybe I can create 20, and then maybe we're gonna do 20 at the top as well. That might be a little too much. Let's try 10. You know what? Yeah, that actually works. So it's just 20 padding at the top. Cool. Let's grab our next text. It's good. And to keep things actually consistent with the navigation bar, let's just go ahead and do everything capitalized. Yeah, just to keep things consistent. We'll do this one capitalized. And then we'll actually lower this to like 1.0.8. Yeah, that's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this one. Move this over here, and then just copy and paste that one. Cool. So let's go ahead and do the rest of this. I don't know, guys. It's bothering me that it's not the other text. I might want to style it the other way. I'll be honest with y'all. It looks cool and all, but let's just go ahead and do let's just go ahead and do the other text instead. That might look a little nicer. Cool. And let's do medium. There we go. That looks pretty smooth, man. What y'all think? That looks pretty smooth. And I want to give a little bit of padding to this footer column. So let's go ahead and do 10 pixels of padding at the top. Just kind of even things up with the rest of the content. Cool. And since I'm at it, what I'm going to do instead, now that I think about it, I want to create a little bit of padding to shorten those lines. So I'm just going to create 10 pixels of padding all the way around. Cool. And that's it. So lastly, we're going to add our social links, and that's going to be our last step for the for the for this build. But instead of doing horizontal, I actually want to do vertical, because check this out. It looks a lot cooler on vertical. So that's what we're going to do. So our first step is going to be to throw in some link blocks, right? So we're going to do link block. No, first, my apologies. First is a div. So throwing a div, we're going to call it social links, right? And then we're going to throw in some link blocks now, and we're going to call these link blocks social link. Don't get the two mixed up. Social link, right? Social links, social link. All right. So I'm going to add an image to this. I'm going to call this social icon. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to give it a width of 3 viewport widths. Maybe even a little bigger. We will see in just a second, but that's what I'm going to do for now. And then we copy and paste this 3 more times. And what I'm going to do with the social links div is I'm going to flex that out. I'm going to do vertical and align to the right, just so we can push it all the way over like I have here. And the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to add our images. So our little icons. So let's add Facebook, yada, yada, yada. Instagram, which is a shit show right now. Do you guys still use Instagram like that, man? I'll be honest, like, I don't really like creating content like that. I'll keep it real with you guys. I really don't. But I guess it's something that we got to do. But I'm just like, dude, I don't know. Instagram irritates me. What's your guys' favorite platform? Mine is Twitter right now. Twitter would be pretty smooth. All right, so let's add 5 pixels of padding to the top of that and see how that looks. Cool, but let's just do a little bit more. Since they are links, you want to create a little bit of space for people to click on. Cool. I like that. And that's it. That's it for the footer. Cool. So let's add a little bit of interactions after we do our last step, and we're going to do our legal bar. So our legal bar is just simply a flexed out div. So this is the first time we're going to be actually using a div instead of a CSS grid. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a div block. We're going to call this, we're just going to call this a legal bar. This is where all the legal, come on, Dexter, get it together. Legal bar. And we're going to give this a color of charcoal. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw a div in here. And this div is actually just going to be called flex. And inside that flex, we're actually just going to flex it, of course. Let's do horizontal and to the both to the left and the right. I don't know if I want to do justify just yet, because I do want to create some padding inside the flex, but right now that's what we'll do. So for the legal bar, let's give a little bit of padding at 60 on both sides. And inside of that, we're going to do our flex. Let's add 2 divs to our flex. So let's do one flex block, copy and paste to the other one. And I'm just going to call one of these copyright. As you call both of them copyright. Cool. And inside of that, we're going to add a text block. And inside of that text block, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to flex this out as well, so we can get that content to the center. It doesn't matter if it's horizontal or vertical at this point. So as long as you put it in there, you're totally cool. Right? Make it do yellow. And actually, since I have all my content in there already, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste that right in there. So let's give the legal bar a height now. Let's give it a height of maybe, you know what? Let's give it padding instead. So let's give it padding of 30 on both top and bottom. Cool. And let's copy and paste our text. Cool. That's it. We got our legal pages, our copyright notice. Obviously, if this was a real site, it would be a link block, but it's not. So I didn't really worry about it. This is just what we're going to roll with right now, and we have our text. That's it. I want to call this legal. I want to call this legal text, legal doc, because essentially there's going to be legal docs in both of these, so might as well. Lastly, let's style it up, and then we're good to go. That's it. That is it. Do we want to do this medium maybe? Yeah. I don't mind normal since it's not really that large of a focus. Let's do 1 EM. Maybe we could even do a little small, like 0 point, like 6 or something. Something small. There we go. Nice. That's it though, guys. We're done. We're done. What do you guys think? You like this? Let's create a little bit of hover animations while we're at it. So for our buttons, what we're going to want to do is on hover. I'm actually just going to change this to, what should we change it to? Maybe we can do maybe a lighter version of yellow. Let's see how that feels. No, that looks ugly. We're not going to do that. What we could possibly do maybe is transparent. And then we're going to give this a border. Um, Maybe give this a border around it. Maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll do it that way. But if we're gonna do that, we have to give it a invisible border. So let me get rid of the black and let's just do transparent there. So that way, when it hovers over, it just kind of swaps it and it doesn't move around, right? So let's go ahead on hover. Let's go back to hover. Change this to that dew yellow. And then what we're going to do is down at transitions, I'm going to do pretty much all properties. I'm just going to do 300. And what we're going to do, we're going to leave the ease. Let's just see how that looks. Cool. Not bad. Right. So for the links, we're going to do the same thing. So on hover, let's actually give this, what should we do? Let's give this a, they're already black. So maybe we should try and do like a gray on hover. And then our transitions, since we only swapped out the color, we're going to find, let's see, font color. And then like always, I like to do 300 just because it's pretty smooth. It's a little change, but it's a little bit of feedback, that works. Cool. So I want to do the same thing for our other buttons. So let's go ahead and do that. But these, I'm actually just going to do I'm not going to do transparent. I'm just going to do 80%, just because they're black, and it would look fine if it's let's actually do 90 since it's charcoal already. Let's see how that looks. I like that. Just a little bit of feedback. That's fine. Let's see. It's not bad. I mean, it looks way better than that terrible yellow when it's at opacity. But to keep it consistent, let's just do transparent as well. What do you guys think? It's up to y'all, man. But this is what I'm doing. Let's reset that, and then let's go ahead and give it a border all the way around. Yeah, let's keep the black. We also have to give this one an imaginary border. And the reason why, if you don't give it a border, when you hover over, it's going to kind of do that weird growing thing. So we don't want to do that. Cool. Right. So let's go back to hover. And on hover, we're going to do the background transparent, since we do have our border already built in there. And let's do charcoal. Cool. So that's how it's going to look. And let's do our transitions as well. and we're going to do all properties. I know some people are against all properties right now. It works for me, man. It works for this practice page, and that feels good. And since we haven't did it to the CTA button, let's go ahead and do that. Already know what to do. So on hover, let's give it a border, black, transparent, charcoal, cool, and then on not on hover, we still need to give it another border, but we can actually do a transparent border. And then we can give this a transition, all properties, then 300. Boom. All right. Everything works as it should. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, man. I appreciate y'all for getting this far, to be honest. Let me know, how did I do? Did I do good on my first tutorial? You know what? I'll say this. You know, I've been podcasting for a while. I used to have a podcast and everything like that. So I'm really comfortable on the mic. It's not that. It's just really difficult trying to build and think about stuff and then talk and keep things kind of flowing at the same time. So I respect YouTubers. I see how this isn't easy, you know, but hopefully I didn't do too bad. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know what you guys think of the build. How'd you guys do? What'd you guys come up with? Feel free to share it too. You can find me on Twitter at Dexter W Jr. and I'll also leave the links for that in the Notion file as well. So you guys will be able to see that, be able to, you know, maybe you want to tag me in something, maybe you want to DM me, show me something, show me what you came up with. Maybe you're stuck on something as well. I'm totally up to help you fix anything, any problems that you might have. Feel free to DM me on Twitter. Once again, it's at Dexter W Jr. I appreciate you guys for watching this tutorial. Appreciate you guys in advance for all the feedback. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, man. Hope you guys have a good day. I will talk to y'all soon on another tutorial. We're going to do responsive next. So be on the lookout for that. Take care.